Good evening, everybody. This is the Opinion Guy. I am Charles I. Guarria, broadcasting just minutes away from the world's most famous beach, Daytona Beach, in Daytona Beach, Florida, where today, folks, it was rather cold outside for the everybody in this area. But we have a hot show this evening. We've got all kinds of news talk. There are things happening left and right and center in the news, and we're going to hit them with our news regulars, Michael Vass and Joe Hannoush. But before we get going, I wanted to fill you in on what's happening for this upcoming week, and a little note as well on some blogging that I started and stopped, and I want to tell you guys about that as well because I promised I was going to do that. So first off, coming up this week, tomorrow evening, Tuesday night, Angelo Veltri, who is now the Federal Affairs Director for the National Association of Gun Rights, he is currently working to get national constitutional carry. Now, folks on Long Island for sure, and other people, I'm sure in the New York metropolitan area, have heard of him. He had a group called Save Long Island, and they were effective. He's in the process of bringing that group down so we can focus 100% on the new job that he has in DC. So we're going to speak about his successes with saving Long Island, as well as what he plans to do now with the national constitutional carry. That's tomorrow night, 7 o'clock. And for all you writers out there and political watchdogs, we have Mark Barker, a blogger, coming on Wednesday. He is a welcome voice within Volusia County. That is, of course, the Daytona Beach, the county that Daytona Beach is in. He has a take that you don't see or hear too often, actually read too often. So we are definitely going to get down with him on his inspirations for writing, some of the feedback he gets from some of the, some people think he's acerbic, so I'll say that. And I think he's a must read, my personal opinion. And also, he's a gentleman who enjoys a drink. So we're going to talk about libations and good places to have one. So stick around for that. But then the rest of the week, I'm off. Why am I off? Well, every Wednesday and Thursday, I take off. And then I have family coming down to Florida. So I will be off this weekend hanging with the fam. And that's going to be a blast. I also want to let you guys know, so as some of you know, I blog. And when I first started this show, I said I was going to take the transcript of the show and turn it into a blog every day. Something I read somewhere, and I was like, wow, that makes sense. And I'll be blogging like crazy. And I've done it twice, and this is my 20th show. So, so that's like the opposite of crazy. So the point is, there's just no time. So I took that down today. It was one link on chucklongisland.com/blog. It was a link. So that's gone. So I just want to let you guys know that that won't be happening. I did it twice, and that's it. All righty. So we got all kinds of great things to speak about this evening. And without further ado, I bring to you Michael Vass and Joe Hannoush. How is everybody this evening?
Hello.
There you go. I'm doing great. Getting ready for a great event. I'm going to be over at Lehman College, which is up here in the Bronx on Wednesday. I'm being interviewed by a group called a channel that's the Radically Conservative, which should be very interesting. The Conservative Party will be grilling me for about 30 minutes. It'll be fun. I'm looking forward to that. So that's my big highlight for the week.
The Conservative Party is going to be grilling you. Is that mean like are they prepping you for like a governor run on their ticket on their line?
Everyone tries to grill me, and they try their best, and no one's trying to groom me for any political position. Last time, I won't get into it. Okay. A lot of people love me and hate me in the various political parties.
You're perfect then.
I am who I am.
I like it.
That was the Conservative Party, you said?
Yeah, members of the Conservative Party of the Bronx. They're growing phenomenally. They're having a huge outreach, which is very surprising considering that the Bronx County is considered the single bluest county in the entire United States. It's also pretty much the poorest one of the poorest counties in the United States. But there is a significant conservative Republican movement that's been building up steam over the last several years. When the reason why Donald Trump in 2024 went to New York City, which is everyone was shocked, bluer than blue state, why would he go there? Because of the Bronx Conservative Party. They were leading factor. They had several rallies. They had a couple thousand people to come together, and they had made the pitch to the Trump campaign. That's why he went, and that's why there were 16,000 people there, 2,000 people in protest. The left tried to ignore it and minimize it, and I was actually there amongst the crowd live getting coverage, and it was incredible. It was a great event.
Wow. Well, Trump has an act for going to places that you wouldn't expect. Like he did some journalism shows that was sponsored by African American women. I forget the exact name of it off the top of my head. And he's definitely, and he was going into enemy territory. They were all to the left. I think they had one like chosen right person on the stage with them, but basically it was all to the left. And he did something that I think is like so important, and that you should always go to the other side. I was speaking with a gentleman running here for Florida State Senate. His name is Gabe Wozniak. What is he running for?
Gabe Wozniak, yep.
What is he running for? Do you remember?
State Senate District 8. You got it.
State Senate. So and he was talking. He's going to a Republican club. And when I saw that in our show prep, I was like, are you switching over from Libertarian to Republican? And he said, no, I got to go speak to people who don't agree with me. And when you do that, Bernie Sanders, to his credit, spoke at Liberty University. Peter Buttigieg always spoke about future and former Republicans. He'd go on Fox News and be like, I need to reach future and former Republicans. And oh, by the way, to compare Hillary to Bernie Sanders, Hillary refused to speak at Liberty. And if anybody doesn't know, Liberty University is a Christian college. It leans right. Bernie was there because you have to be there, because the only way you're really going to learn what that person, the only way that those people and those kids in that stand are going to learn what Bernie really thinks is to hear it from Bernie. Now they don't have to agree with him, right? But they're going to hear it from the source. So Bernie was smart. Hillary was dumb. Not the first time those two words have been said, but I definitely think that it's a good idea to do that, to reach out to the other side like that. So what Trump was doing by going to an all bluer than blue county was really smart. So that's awesome, man. When is that taking place?
That's going to be on Wednesday. The report, but the video of it will be probably about 2 weeks after the fact. They pre-tape.
Yeah, great. That's awesome. Alrighty. And Joe, what's going on with you in your world?
A lot of things. First of all, I was surprised when he mentioned Mark Barker coming on. That's what I'm going to be watching on Wednesday. I'm a big fan of his. I read his blog. I don't read it every week, but I read it most weeks, and I've been doing that for years, probably since he started several years ago.
Right. All right.
He's very entertaining. I love his takes on things. He's very common sense. Anyway, looking forward to that. So I'm glad you have him on, coming on soon. I did finally, officially, my paperwork is filed for being a candidate, running for state representative in District 28 here in Florida.
All right. Congratulations.
Yeah, so it just got approved this morning, today is when I saw it. So that's good. And
listen to that. Holy.
We have sound effects now. Okay.
But yeah, Donald Trump. I mean, he knows how to get a passionate crowd to come out. I wish I was as talented as him in that regard. It's
Everyone
great.
Does.
Yeah, and Gabe Wozniak going to a Republican club. He's right. You got to talk to them, and they got to listen to you. So you're not going to get votes, especially here. It's a red district. If you're not getting Republicans to vote for you, forget it. You lost already.
Sure.
So you need to get Republicans to vote for you down here. And in 2022, when I ran for Congress, there was no Democrat running. So the Republicans were like, oh, well, we're not worried about Democrat winning. And the Republicans were like, oh, well, it was open, right? The Democrats didn't have a candidate. So both sides ended up inviting me out to go talk to their local clubs. And so I did that. So, yeah, it's great. People, if you get opportunities to get people, passionate voters those are the types that go to these meetings, like the people that are going to be an audience for Mike's event on Wednesday. Those are
Oh,
serious
yeah.
voters. Like they're active. They pay attention to stuff. So those are the
Yes.
voters you want, and they talk to other people, and people listen to those people. So it's really a big deal when you get an opportunity to talk to what might seem like a small group. They have a large audience themselves. So it's good opportunity for Mike, for Gabe, for all of us. Yeah.
Absolutely. And you brought up President Trump, and you wish you had his ability to ignite large crowds. Is that basically what you're saying? Well, somebody wants you to run for president. Ruben Cologne. Joe
Ruben,
for president.
Hey, you
How
should
about
have
that?
Ruben on. Tell him to come on.
I will.
I would love that. I was on with the Evolutionaries here before, and for those that don't know what Evolutionaries is, basically it's a ripoff of the McLaughlin Group. If you guys follow that, if you don't follow that, it's politically incorrect. It's like, politically incorrect, like with Bill Maher back in the day. It's kind of like that. There would be some Democrats, some Republicans, Libertarian, and we go around talking about issues kind of like this, actually. Yeah, you should definitely have a solo interview with Ruben. It'd be awesome. And you should have him on this show, too. It'd be awesome, too.
Yeah. All right. I will definitely do that. Well, we don't have to agree, Ruben says, but the conversation must go on. Yes, 100%. That's the whole idea. That's the beauty of it.
And other people don't have to be right all the time. When they agree with me, they're right. But when they don't agree with me, they're wrong. But they don't have to be right all the time. So it's okay.
Exactly. And one more, and I can back this statement up. Joe is a rock star in Volusia County. Joe, he's actually your campaign manager, right?
No, Ruben is a rock star. He's talking about himself there, but I appreciate him, reflecting that on me. I appreciate it, Ruben.
Well, I can say that when I'm on the beats, people from both sides, Democrats, Republicans, doesn't matter. They know Joe, and they always have good things to say about you. So absolutely, Ruben is onto something there. You are a rock star. All righty. So good luck with the run. Definitely keep us in touch with that. And actually, I'll say this right out here. When you're ready, I'll have you on as a candidate. Here, you're more of a commentator. But we'll go over your policies and all that kind of stuff. We'll schedule that.
I thought you were talking to Ruben there for a second, but I believe he's up for a re-election this time.
Okay, Ruben, I'll have you on too. All right, great. I'm scheduling my whole show right here.
Yeah, there we go. You'll have like the whole week planned out after this.
Yeah. Actually, I got to go back to what Joe said. When Joe said, Mike, are you thinking of running? I was thinking about you and Larry on the debate stage. That would be great. Larry Sharp, the Libertarian, for folks who don't know.
I would love that.
That'd be awesome. Run for governor, go up against him.
They wouldn't. Larry and I discuss things when we agree. That's really quick. Takes 5 minutes. When we disagree, it takes 3 hours.
Yeah.
They would never. We'd need to have a Lincoln Debates style event where they would have to have a huge block, because the things we disagree on, we very much disagree on. He's a good guy.
Well, you guys are best of friends. People should know that, right? You guys, in fact, you're supporting him for governor.
Yeah, and he's a personal friend. I've known him 10 years. And the first time I met him, we were supposed to have a 15-minute interview, wound up being 2.5 hours. And we just kept talking after that. Years went on. And I know him now. He's in Queens. I see him every so often. We talk in person on a regular basis. He's a personal friend, and I do support him. Not because he's my friend, but because he's the best candidate. And but that doesn't mean that I publicly and personally and privately, there's no gloves held when we disagree, whether it's public or like on a format like this or privately, we will go at each other 1,000%. And that's a good way to have it.
What I like about Larry, if you don't mind me touching on that also, but Larry he's a solution-oriented guy. And you don't have to agree with the solution all the time, but he has a plan. Like, it's planned out, it's thoughtful, it's heading in the right direction. It's kind of like a win for all kind of thing. I really do want to see him get elected to maybe not governor, but something. I think you do really a great job.
No, I definitely want him for governor for New York.
Yeah, I prefer that.
I think 2026 is a good time for him to be able to make it happen, especially looking at the environment that we have. Blakeman has no plans. And I'm sorry, I don't mean to go into it, but since we're
That's
talking
cool.
about politics, the
Yeah,
New
go.
York race is going to be very interesting because right now you have a Republican who, just like Elise Stefanik, who I personally have met and I've talked to several times, Elise had no plan. And you can go to her website and you saw she had no plan, no idea what she would do, which tells me she never wanted to win. She dropped out the race when she was confronted with a challenge. Here's Blakeman. Blakeman wants to run because he's the big fish in Long Island and completely unknown upstate. All right, go to his website. You can go there right now. Does he have a plan if he were to win? The answer is no. Why are we wasting our time?
Right.
And Hochul, well, we've seen what her plans have been for the last 6 years. She's a complete failure. The state's worse off every year that she's been in charge. It's gotten worse and worse. Everyone agrees on that. No one thinks they're better off than they were 6 years ago under Hochul or under Cuomo.
I was gonna say it's been 6 years for Hochul. She's already been in charge for 6 years.
Yes, because
I
she's
was surprised by that too. I was like, really, 6 years? Wow.
She picked up from when Andrew Cuomo, the disgraced Andrew Cuomo, dropped out because of his allegations of sexual assault and killing 16,000 people. She took over for him and then got elected once. So she's in 6 years, but she's completely failed. And again, look at what she's doing. Then go to Larry Sharp's page, his campaign page, and he has a complete page of all of his policies, as well as an 8-hour video discussing all of his policies. And again, you're right, Joe. Do I agree with everything that Larry stands for? No. And I've said that to his face. I'll say it anywhere. Always have. But I believe the overwhelming majority of his ideas make sense. And I think they're reasonable solutions that can actually work. So in the face of someone who's completely screwing over the public, somebody who has no idea what to do if he were to actually get the job, and somebody who has a set of solutions that I can actually talk to about those solutions and their feasibility, how do I not pick Larry Sharp? Not just because he's my friend. He's got solutions.
I love. I voted for him when I still lived on Long Island. First time he ran, and started watching his show from there. And I've been watching him. He's a regular. I have 5 or 6 people. No Soundbites Allowed is one of my regular shows, and I definitely no problem. And I definitely check in with him multiple times throughout the week the Sharp way. Anyway, Larry is great. He's got excellent ideas. Let's see. It's going to bring it back to Ruben here, and he says deal as far as coming on. All right, so I will definitely reach out to you over the next 48, 72 hours, and we'll schedule something there. So since we're talking about Hochul and the nuttiness that she is, I think we should bring up what's going on with the nurses over there. And Mike, I'm going to let you lead this. I'm just going to share the screen for a second so people could see a little bit of what's happening here. And I have to say that I saw this on Instagram, and I'll give you my comment real quick. Let's just share this on here. So today, nearly 15,000 nurses go on strike at a top hospital in New York City. What got me so ticked off was I saw an Instagram post of Hochul, hoping that it didn't happen and how important they are. And all I can think of is like, yeah, they're important now, but it was okay to fire them when they didn't take the COVID vaccine. I'm like, that is such BS. And I wrote underneath it, yeah, I'll never forget. So now she's kind of waxing poetic about them, when before it was like, fire them. They're not going to do what I want. Fire them. Rights, my body, my choice. Fire them. And now it's like, no, we can't. Shut up, Hochul. Okay, that's my quick take on it. I'd love to hear, Mike, if you can fill us in on the details. What's going on there?
Well, to put it in context, under the pandemic, when they first came up with when Joe Biden first said that it was a mandate, you must get the jab. And in New York State, for state employees and for first responders, it was a mandate by Kathy Hochul saying that you do not have bodily autonomy, women or men, pregnant or not, and that you must get the jab. She fired 37,000 doctors and nurses. By the way, here it is, 2026. We still have not rehired all those people. There is an extreme shortage of doctors and nurses in New York State because of what Hochul did. And she did lose a court case on this. But even with that, we've not recovered those people. And we needed even more nurses and doctors beyond the ones that she fired. So that puts an extreme health crisis on New York State.
Oh, yeah.
And that leads up to this is two major hospitals, Mount Sinai and I forget the other one. And they knew that the nurses were going to go on strike. They had a contract from 3 years ago. They knew that the contract was up. The negotiations, even with mediation, did not work. The hospitals built up a $100 million contingency plan. They knew this was going to happen and was going to happen for a while. The nurses want more. They want more support and they want more pay. Fair enough. But they knew this was going to happen. They set up a contingency plan of $100 million to get them through the strike. Hochul knew this. Mandami and Adams all knew this. They knew it was going to happen. They let it happen. Now we just have 15,000 nurses go. That's on top of the 37,000 doctors and nurses we already lost.
Right. What percentage of that did they get back? Or what?
Go ahead.
What number did they get back from that, or what percentage of that 37,000 came back, or after the court case, 5,000 less? Do you know?
There's no real reporting or recording of the number, so it's somewhat arbitrary. We know it wasn't 100%. I believe the last thing I recall seeing, which is back in 2024, I believe it was 5,000 or less.
Okay.
Might have been, and that might have been 5,000, including police and firefighters who are also fired by her, and Eric Adams at the time. So in total, I think police, firefighters, doctors, and nurses, out of the total 48,000 that were fired, 5,000 were rehired.
Yeah.
10%.
Yeah.
So it's pretty pitiful. And obviously, this is endangering lives. Can you imagine? So you're talking about every one of these hospitals now are understaffed. And yes, Hochul said, and here's the thing that really got me about this, and it's in the Politico article. So to deal with this, Kathy Hochul said she is lifting the restriction that prevents other doctors in other states, not in other countries. We're not talking about doctors coming from Guatemala. We're not talking about nurses that are coming from Zimbabwe. We're talking about doctors and nurses in New Jersey, Pennsylvania, in Connecticut cannot work in New York State because That's New York State wants extra money. They have to be licensed, which means they have to pay a fee. And because Hochul wants the money, they're restricted from being able to work in New York State unless they get that license, that they pay that fee. And now she just waived it. And for 2 weeks, there's a contingency plan that they're going to be able to come in from New Jersey, Connecticut, Pennsylvania, from across the country. Doctors will come in and be able to work in New York State in these hospitals to help take care of the sick. That should tell you right off the bat, this is a useless restriction. It is not medically important. If it was significant and it was about someone's health, then she would never lift the restriction because it would endanger the public. The fact that she can tells you it's about money, and that tells you that this state is mismanaged. 1,000%. Unless someone 100%. Thinks I'm wrong. You guys tell me.
Yeah, if anybody thinks so. No, I'm with you. I think it's I agree with what you're saying. That rule, I mean, to me, it's just regulations, and regulations are bad. And if you're certified in another state, like you said, it's not in a country. It's another state. I mean, it should be across a cross-border thing where it's just like, come on in. Here's the thing that I don't get. Like, Joe, what's your opinion? It's like, it's not like these people could just drop their. It's not like if I'm a doctor in Iowa and I'm like, oh, New York needs help, let me stop my practice and go over there. You know what I mean, right, Joe? I mean, am I crazy to think that?
I mean, if they want to, it depends on what the deal is, like what kind of package they get. Obviously they could make more money, I think, in New York City than elsewhere, but it's also more expensive to live there. So, but I actually had talked to someone who is a traveling nurse. She goes around and stays at a certain place for a little while, then goes somewhere else, stays there for a little while, and I think they get paid a little bit more to do that.
A lot more.
But I think it's a great idea. Honestly, I think it's a good thing. I think for the most part, though, and this might be getting a little bit in the weeds here, but I would prefer doctors stay where they are at, because you as patients, you kind of trust this person who's like taking care of you, right? So I would want them to stay in one place, but I wouldn't. I would also want them to be able to go elsewhere, and for other states to be welcoming to people going elsewhere as well. I think, especially when when we have like fires going on, like in California, we had like a few years ago now, but like firefighters from Florida or from New York would go there, right?
Yeah.
It's the same thing. So I don't see why we couldn't have, where if they need a lot of like nurses or doctors or whatever in New York, let's have some people go there. I'm perfectly okay with that. Let them do whatever they want. Obviously, it would be them making the decision, like what deal do I want to take for what I'm doing over there, and maybe it's practice, like they want to like test out maybe moving to New York or something, and they spend like 6 months there, and Mike, go ahead.
I have to correct a couple of things and put in perspective, because what you're thinking is what they want. That's exactly what Hochul and her communications team would want you to think. Well, it's just a matter of choice, and some of them will come and do it for 2 weeks. It's not a lot of time. It's like a vacation, and they'll make a little extra money. Except that's not how it works. It's like when they say, oh, we're going to go and get the National Guard, and they're going to come in and we'll have doctors and nurses because we activated the National Guard. Well, the doctors and nurses you would get are doctors and nurses already in the state. The National Guard is the state. They're already working here. And if they're on strike or if they were fired, they're not coming because they've already been fired or they are on strike. You're not getting those extra people within the state. As for those who are outside the state, well, mostly they're going to get the traveling nurses who do get paid substantially more because they're higher qualified. Those nurses are very well qualified. I know many of them that work in ORs or ER, emergency rooms, operating rooms or emergency rooms, and they're some of the best in the entire industry. They get paid top dollar for that, which is an expense that goes to the hospital that then gets passed on to the to the sick people in the hospitals. But beyond that problem, which means higher bills, poor people hurt more, the problem is if you can get those traveling nurses, then everywhere else those nurses would normally be, or it's going to be without nurses.
Yeah,
so
right. But
get them in means someone else is losing them. It's not a win-win. It's a zero-sum game. If I'm taking 10 from here, they don't have 10 they need.
I think that sounds like the good doctors, the people that are great at what they do, and this is for any profession really, but talking about nurses here, if they are really super at their job, they're just great at it, I think they deserve top dollar.
No, I'm not worried about. Hang on. I'm not saying they shouldn't get paid. I'm saying the extra expense is going to be tacked on to the end consumer, and that's a problem, which is not being accounted for by Kathy Hochul and not being disclosed to the public.
Well, actually,
and the other problem, I'm not worried about. They deserve what they get paid. I have no problem with that. I'm just upset that it's not being disclosed that the end user is going to get hurt by this because it's making it more expensive. And every person we take out of the system that is arranged right now in balance with the needs And that's why these nurses travel, because it's based on the need as it changes across the country. Well, now we are artificially take them out of that system. There are other parts of the country that are going to suffer because of this. People are going to literally die because of this problem that Hochul knew about, Mandami knew about, and they did nothing to prevent it.
Yeah, Mike, I agree with that. You can kind of create a need somewhere else. I would say that the end users, the patient isn't going to really be affected. They're not paying more. It's their insurance company that's going to pay more, or Medicare or Medicaid that's actually going to pay more, because we pay a copay, most of us, right? So whatever it is, 20%. So it's really, it's going to be like, yeah, most people. I mean, if you can afford to pay full freight, you don't care what the cost is. Then you're in the rich part. You got a concierge, or you got Cadillac plan. Then you're not worried about it anyway. So most of us don't even get the
You're missing a part, and the part you're missing there, the poor people that are going to be most affected by this are on Obamacare. Obamacare is paid for by the federal government, which is paid for by your taxes, the state taxes that also supplements Obamacare for these poor people. That comes from your taxes. That's coming from you. So when I say the end user, and I said poor people and consumers, I don't mean the patients. I mean everyone. Everyone in the nation is paying for this now. And again, people aren't thinking of it that way. But when you realize, oh, this is money coming out of Obamacare, this is coming out of state funds for emergency medical needs, we pay for that out of taxes. This is increasing the tax burden, and it's redirecting money that would otherwise go for other needs, and it's being funneled in here. You're paying for this. You guys in Florida are paying for this. People in Kansas are paying for this. People in California, you're paying for this. And no one's telling you that. And that means in your state, because of the pool of people and the pool of money they're drawing out of, that means your health care is going to go up as well. It may be a short-term spike for certain areas,
I think so.
But some places it's going to be a long-term impact. You're paying for this.
Depends on how long the strike is, because it could be, and that's kind of where I want to go next with this is, have you heard, I'm curious, actually, does the union, I don't know if it's one or more unions, but does the union or unions feel like it's been unfair labor negotiations? And are they thinking of going to the NLRB? Has that been in the news?
It's one union. They've been in negotiations for about a month, including several meetings, including mediation has been attempted already. So they've already been through most of the process. They're not coming to terms with the hospitals. And so that's why they struck. So yeah, they've had several negotiation attempts.
Can you imagine, like, if you had an operation tomorrow, the next day, and like you're like, what the heck do I do? They got this, like, this doctor I don't know was coming in, and I had this report. Well, it's a nurse, I know it's not the doctor, but I had this nurse that I don't know. I had this report. That's kind of rough. So, Joe, you would agree that we should not. There should be no. Well, basically, I think we're all in agreement that there should be no stipulation that you can't go to New York under normal circumstances. Like, there should be no regulation or fees to pay. It should just be like, I want to set up shop, go ahead and do it. But New York is always looking. But we're all in agreement on that aspect of it, right?
I am, yeah.
Yeah, totally. I am very much against almost every regulation. There are a few regulations that are worthwhile. That's a great conversation we could have. There's a few regulations worthwhile. Like, you got to regulate food to a certain extent and things like that, of course. But that one right there is pretty silly. But Hochul is a silly person. So,
well, if you mean by silly, if you mean a complete and utter failure, then yes.
Well, I was trying to be nice.
I'm not. I'm being realistic. She's a complete and utter failure.
Yeah. She's not my cup of tea. That's for sure. Alrighty. So I have found the dumbest news item comment of the week. So let's bring this up.
Are you showing a clip of me from last week?
Something Joe said in last week's show. So this guy, his name is Glenn Hughes. This has to do with Minnesota. He lives in like Norway, and he's got a strong following, like 49,000 people, which is really good just on Twitter, on X. And the day the United States died was the day that ICE killed some girl. And I saw this thing and I said, not even close. As you can see, I commented right there.
He's an idiot.
Yeah, this is meaningless.
Glenn Toombs, you're an idiot.
Yeah, I think this guy is insane. And I was like, plus he doesn't, how can you post this? You know, he doesn't know, we lived through this before. We lived through the government killing people before. It was called Kent University. I can go back to that one. 4 people died, 9 people are injured. What changed? Nothing's changing. Nothing's changing.
Actually, massive change, and not even close. Not a fair comparison whatsoever.
What do you mean?
There is absolutely no similarity between Kent State and what happened in Minnesota. Zero. Or in Portland. No connection whatsoever. You cannot compare them. That's not even apples and pears. That's Venus versus an orange.
So what changed? So what changed at Kent University?
What changed since Kent University? The manner in which...
Why would Kent University change?
Well, we changed the
manner... How does America change because of it?
Well, we changed the manner in which that the National Guard is used in a state. We changed our doctrine on live fire and having rounds and authorization of lethal force. We changed our culture massively because of that. There were many changes that have occurred because of Kent State. And what happened in Minnesota, Minneapolis, has nothing to do with any of the things that were happening in Kent State. We have a woman who had an escalating series of decisions that increased her risk and probability of being shot and harmed and possibly killed. She made every wrong decision you could possibly make because she thought she was politically invulnerable and that there would be no consequence. And as the reality hit her, she suffered the ultimate consequence. She did this to herself. There is no other way to look at it. There is no other way to describe it. And everyone who's trying to say, but just look at yet another angle, is trying to justify their political ideology as opposed to the reality that actually happened. And I understand why people would do that, because this breaks the worldview for some people. She made dumb decisions that increased her risk for, in my point of view, a dumb ideology. Others may like the ideology. That's fine. But she was the only agent, she was making all of the active decisions in that entire series. Everyone was reacting to her choices. And that makes it completely different than Kent State. That was not the same.
Joe, you're shaking your head?
Yeah, I agree with Mike's point, but I would also put it on the ICE agents as well as the fault of the driver. Honestly, I think both of them were not helping the situation, either of them. I think if either one of them were not there, the situation would have been not as escalated as ultimately what it was. Neither one of them handled the situation good, in my opinion. But the bottom line is the person from the government with a gun made the ultimate decision that they should not have made.
Wrong.
And that's what resulted in someone's death. And you got to put the fault on them.
No, I absolutely reject and completely disagree. And I'm saying so respectfully. This is not about, and people often forget, this is not a personal comment. We're talking about legalities and situations. I understand the feeling that you're expressing. Here's the thing. That woman was we can agree, she was making bad decisions that were increasing her risk continuously throughout that entire event. We have law enforcement that are legally and lawfully doing their job. She decided, well, you don't have to like the law. You don't have to think it's a good law. They are lawfully following the law, deporting illegal immigrants. So you can disagree with it. That's an entirely different subject. But that's what they're doing. She decided not to legally observe. she decided to impede their ability to do the job. By the way, that's a crime.
She wasn't impeding.
Huh?
She was not impeding.
She was.
They came after her. They surrounded her car.
No. We've seen the video. She was blocking the road, which, by the way, is also illegal. She was blocking the road. And we've seen, and I heard the argument before, why didn't they just drive around her? Because in the last 2 months, there have been multiple occasions where individuals just like her rammed the ICE vehicles when they tried to get around people like her. And she was prepared to be able to T-bone them. So again, whether you agree with the underlying law and action they're doing, they are in danger by how she has positioned herself, and they are impeded. That is a crime. Plus, the way she's positioned in the road is a crime. It's reckless endangerment of other drivers. And they then approach her. They tell her to get out of the vehicle. She disobeys a lawful order from individuals she knows are law enforcement agents. She then backs up her vehicle and moves forward. Now, here's the thing. I don't care. We know she hit him. Doesn't matter how hard she hit him. Doesn't matter how fast she hit him. Here's the thing. She backed up. She's now trying to escape from the scene of a crime, which is yet another crime. And she willfully, and we know from the most recent cell phone video, she was looking straight ahead. She wasn't distracted like I initially gave her credit that she might have been. She knew there was an officer in front of her. She hit the gas. The vehicle was going forward. She then got shot. And as she was getting shot, at the same time that the officer, who had a vehicle moving forward and hitting her, he then fired because he was authorized and justified in reacting to a deadly force, and she then turned the vehicle at the same time. But she's already impacted him, and she was recklessly not caring about whether he would live or die. She was trying to escape. He was justified in killing her. Not that I want her to be dead. I didn't. And I don't think that was the best scenario. But again, she made that choice. She could have stopped the vehicle. She could have not moved forward. She could have not impeded ICE in doing what they were doing and just followed them and videotape them and yell at them all she wants. That would have been fine. But she made bad decisions all the way through. The ICE officer, if anyone has someone revving an engine and driving a vehicle towards you, you are authorized in every state in all of America to use deadly force to protect your life and end that threat everywhere. The fact that they're ICE agents doesn't change that.
Well, there's a couple objective things here. The ICE agents were surrounding. I mean, the guy literally walked around her car like one and a half times or something. Like, what was the point of that? There is none. There's no point of that at all.
Yes, there is. There is.
Do they have a warrant to detain her? Is that what it was?
No. First, okay, so let me address your concern. He's walking around the vehicle, one, to ascertain, are there weapons or anything dangerous in that vehicle? Could be a bomb, could be a gun that she's holding in her hand that the other officer from another angle couldn't possibly see. Also to identify who she was. They took a video of he's taking video of the license plate. This could be a criminal that is wanted by the police for God knows what else. You don't know. Could be someone who's on the terrorist watch list. We don't know. He also took a video of the wife or female, whatever she is, and took a video of her, again, for the same reason. Comes around to the other side of the vehicle. Again, ascertaining, is there a danger? Is there an additional threat? He then stops. She turns the vehicle. When she backed up, she turned the vehicle into him. He did not go in front of her. And all of the video, you look it in slow motion. He is stopped. She turned the vehicle to him, not that he moved forward. And then he continued to move away as she started moving forward.
I saw the exact opposite from that.
I've watched it from 5 different angles. It's always the same.
All right, Joe, speak, and then I'm going to comment on this. Go ahead, Joe.
Yeah, I saw it the exact opposite. I mean, when you said he was starting to move is when I saw him start to stop. Like, he was moving across the front of the car, and then he stopped. Like, had he kept going, the SUV would have went right by. I mean, it was a hard right. The driver had to wheel in a hard right. The car turned all the way straight.
No.
Okay.
All right, so here's the deal, folks. Whoops. And this is why I don't like these things at all. And I lost you guys. I'm trying to bring up the actual piece that started this conversation. But when I brought that piece up, you can see I wrote that this is meaningless. And I believe this is meaningless just for this reason. People look at that video for a whole bunch of reasons. Number one, people look at it one way and they think the ice guy was in the right. People look at it the other way. They think the ice guy was in the wrong. And you want to know something? It doesn't matter. Her death doesn't mean any more or any less than any other death. There are deaths right now, Michael, in the Bronx. There are deaths right now in Volusia County for where Joe and I are. And you know what? Those people's lives are just as important. And just because they didn't get killed by an ICE agent, maybe, or at the hands of an ICE agent, let's just put it like that for discussion, doesn't make their lives any worse, but nobody's talking about them. And you want to know something else? There is no poor person in America who's going to get rich because she died. And there is no rich person in America that's going to get poor because she died. And China is still thinking about invading Taiwan. We still don't have peace in Russia, the Russia-Ukraine war. That means it doesn't matter. And I don't believe it's meaningless. I don't believe in I don't believe that people purposely put in news stories to dissuade us from something else, but this is just a diversion, right? George Floyd, I felt that way about George Floyd. I felt that way about the guy in Staten Island who got choked for selling cigarettes. I felt that way about Stand Your Ground. People die all the time. Get over it. You know who that's important to? The two families involved, the ICE agent's family, the woman Good, her family, the police, the politicians who are in that district, the ICE people who now have to make more reports. Who else? Oh yeah, the news people who have to change their assignments. What does that amount to? Like 500 people? 500 people in this whole country that affects? It is meaningless. It doesn't matter. I didn't watch the video. Charles, I wouldn't watch the video. I will never pay attention to that kind of stuff because it is not important. And yet, Charles, the landscape, it means nothing.
And yet, Charles, that's not correct because we have riots right now in Minneapolis and throughout Minnesota. We have riots that are going on right now over in Portland, in LA, in New York. We have a political movement. We have people right now who are saying that they want to arm themselves with guns to kill ICE and law enforcement. We have people who are trying to convince the country to go into civil war over this event.
All those things were happening before, Mike. We have people who want to have civil war before. We have people who want to kill ICE agents before. It's so not important on the large scale of things that happen in this country. It'll go nowhere. It'll blow over. It's just a moment in time. Anyway, that's my opinion, and you have the right to yours.
Yeah. We can disagree on that. That's fine.
Absolutely, absolutely, of course. Yeah, but anyway, all right. So. Any last comments? You guys get the last word. Both of you.
On the show?
No, we're not into this.
Oh, okay.
Great show, guys. Like great topic to end it with. You guys are great.
We're done. Okay.
We've only just begun.
No. I think that the biggest problem in this, or people are looking at this generally from various political ideologies. They're not looking at the physics of it. And people are also conveying right and wrong on this. Notice I've always said it's justified by law. I'm looking at it from the legal aspect. This isn't about the personalities. It's not about the underlying law, the mass deportations. It's not about that. It's about what actually happened in that moment. And I think most people add or subtract their personal feelings and or political ideology into it when they're looking at this, and they come up with different scenarios at that point. I don't think that if you strip all of that out, it's as simple as I described, I believe. That's exactly what the physics from every angle. There's like 6, 7, 8 angles right now. I've seen 5 of them and seen them in slow motion. I think it's as simple as I described it.
I'll say one final word because I actually agree with Mike on this. I think it is politically motivated. I think people, depending on what side you are on, is how you see it.
Mm-hmm.
And I'll admit, I have a bias.
Mm-hmm.
I am not a fan of ICE at all. I think the federal government should not have nearly as restrictive as laws as it does against immigrants. I think it should be very minimal. And certainly the enforcement, I completely disagree with it. I think it should be very targeted and specific. Like this quote unquote illegal immigrant did this, robbed someone or killed someone, whatever. Then okay, go after them. But someone's just like in the country 20 years, they never got documented, but they've been working, fixing roofs for the last 15 years. Let them go. And that's the way I see. I know Mike disagrees with me.
No, I didn't say anything. I shook my head, but I didn't say a word.
I don't know. But okay. So anyway, I'll leave it there. Me and Mike won't agree on the substance, but I think we agree on the overall politicization of it. We'll put it that way.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, absolutely. And if you like this conversation, folks, please remember to like, comment, and subscribe and share, because if you care, you will share. And the genesis of this show, of course, is the free and open exchange of ideas and of opinions. As the belief as citizens of the world, we have a right to hear and to be heard, and everyone listening does as well. So yeah, it's great. And I would appreciate any like, comment, and share that you can do to get the word out. Actually, I got to say, the word's getting out. I had 38,700 and change viewers on my first month doing this, and that I am promoting. Thank you very much. I mean, I'm not gonna make it. I am promoting. Believe it or not, sometimes these shows don't get the promotion level that. So YouTube's up to their tricks.
Very much, yes.
My artist shows, which I had a fantastic conversation with a chalk artist last night. They seem to do. YouTube likes those a little bit better than political commentary, especially when, I say COVID and I say vaccine anytime I want, and I'll say rape and I'll say Nazi anytime I want. And if YouTube doesn't like it, then I'm finally going to hook up with Rumble. I'll go over there. So in this show, guys,
you just got kicked off. You have negative viewers now.
We just been talking. Everybody's like, what happened? Exactly. What was I going to say? Yeah, so you guys can say whatever you want. Yeah, I'm not like, it's total free speech, whatever you guys want.
It's habit for me. I hate that they've gotten me to self-censor just so that I can continue to have the conversations in the public about issues that affect us all. It's ridiculous. It's truly, truly ridiculous that we have to be self-censored.
Oh, I agree. Yeah, absolutely. And it's totally cool to do that. I mean, I don't curse. If people come on here and curse, that's fine by me. Like whatever is your deal. I don't want anybody to feel restricted, in any way, So there is something that affects everybody in the country, if only we would do it. And that's get rid of the United States Postal Service. Now the Danish did this at the end of last year. So like December 30th, I think was the actual date that they stopped doing it. Now, granted, they're small. They something like 1,500 workers. But their deputy chief, so their mail is called PostNord, and the deputy chief executive of PostNord said that the Danes have become more and more digital, and this means there are very few letters left today, and the decline continues so significantly that the letter market is no longer profitable. Well, when's the last time it was profitable in the United States of America, folks? About 15, 20 years ago, if that right. They have a monopoly and they can't make money. Oh yeah, because the government does literally nothing right other than kill people through wars more than anything else. That's how they're most effective. On the federal level, locally, a great come on my show. I love you. But on the federal level, they the government does nothing well in this country. Can't even make money in a situation where they have a monopoly. And I truly believe, sure, at one time, when letters were the only way to communicate, you wanted to have the postal service do it. Pony Express is great, all that kind of stuff. Great. We're well past the time. FedEx and DHL and Amazon. Can you imagine if Amazon ran the post office? It would be a multi-billion-dollar business. It would be like the greatest mail system in the world. So it's time to end it. It's been something that I felt like really since my whole adult life. So what say you guys?
I'm going to go first?
Yep.
Yeah, go for it.
All right. Guess where I'm going to read from here. I'm going to read from the Constitution. And I'll say this first. Chuck, I agree with you. I think we should get rid of the post office. We have FedEx, we have UPS, we have Amazon, we have Walmart. Everyone delivers anything you possibly want. It's far more efficient. They actually make money doing it. However, the Constitution says to establish post offices and post roads. It's right there. It's in the Constitution. So if we want to change that, we need to amend the Constitution. So until that happens, we have them.
True, and I agree with the Constitution, and I disagree with you. Denmark is, I love the Danish people. There's 6 million of them. They have a GDP equal to. They don't even have a GDP equal to the state of Georgia. I mean, they make $400 billion a year. Good for them, since there's only 6 million of them, and they're the size of Massachusetts. But Georgia doubles their GDP. We can't really scale up ideas that they have that's basically ideas for a city and use them for a nation, especially a nation as big and powerful and diverse as the United States. Yes, we could use an Amazon to do it. I don't trust them to do it. I don't trust the government either. The problem with the post office isn't what they do. It's that we've allowed the corruption that we've allowed into a lot of the government to absolutely subsume all of the post office. They're not efficient because they don't have to be efficient. They're guaranteed by their unions and by law and by the Constitution. It's almost impossible to fire them and to get rid of them. We need to have more competition. We need more efficiency in there. And that means that we have to treat them like we would treat most businesses. We need to streamline it, modernize it, and hold them accountable. When you screw up in your job, you get fired. Not that your union says, well, you can't fire them because they've been around for a while or they're a diversity hire. No, they get fired, period. You're bad at your job, you're fired. We'll get someone else. They provide an essential service that is the alternative, and the whole reason why they were created. They're an alternative to private business because it is essential. Whether or not a lot of people or a few people send out letters, that is a legal form of communications, especially with the government, that is sacrosanct. And it is important because when all other systems can be corrupted or fall apart, or someone, my package is going through Amazon. Have you ever received a package from Amazon that was busted open? FedEx that gets busted open or gets crushed? Do you really trust them if they have every single legal document that goes through the mail? Do you trust them to not occasionally open it up, especially if that private FedEx worker has a different political ideology than you, and they know that?
Hold on, Mike. Couple of things. Number one, just to back up, so the fact that it's in the Constitution just underscores my point that at one point it was important for the government to do it. In fact, our founding fathers thought it was so important way back then that it should be in the Constitution. That's not the case anymore. So if we have to have a constitutional convention to get rid of it, by all means, let's go and do that. Mike, you did say that you don't trust the post office or Amazon. So who would you trust to do the mail? Or are you advocating for competition? It also sounded like you were advocating for competition where the post office shouldn't be the only one in the game.
No, I believe in advocating for competition, but I do believe the post office is essential. I just think they need to be massively shrunk down. There is
okay. So
their biggest problem.
If it's never happened in our lifetime, why would you even think it would happen now? And if it's not going to happen, let's blow it up.
There's a lot of things that haven't happened, but we are getting there. We're finally starting to shrink the Department of Education. We need strong presidents. And I'm not saying left or right. We need strong presidents with a focus on fixing the many issues in our country. One of the biggest problems we have is we have a bloated government. In every department, in every agency, we are completely inefficient.
And that is both sides.
Yeah, and in the post office, you're right. Most people aren't writing letters, but it is an essential alternative. Just means shrink it down. They're not as essential as they used to be. Shrink it down.
I got an idea because the legal part, struck a chord with me on that part, Michael, when you said that, and both together. I want to hear both of this opinion. I'm brainstorming, so maybe this isn't a good idea. But let's see. What if legal documents were handled by the USPS, but like when I want to write a letter, when somebody wants to write a letter to their grandma, that's handled by like Amazon, like the personal stuff, Amazon. Maybe even political, because you said, if you're a different, political sense, you might be tempted to open up if you're not a nice person. So if we did like legal, political, and medical through the government, brought in competition in the sense that the personal stuff went through the Amazons and things like that. I'm like I said, I'm brainstorming. Is that, how does that sound to both you guys? So we'll let Michael go first on this one.
Well, I think it's decent. It's at least something to start with. Yeah, we have legal documents and such, and packages are for open competition. Again, that requires shrink the post office down and open up in the competition and allow for more efficiency. It's a starting point. I can work with that.
Cool. All right. How about you, Joe?
I mean, at the end of the day, the FedEx driver and the USPS driver, they're both humans. They both just doing their jobs, and either one of them could open up your mail or open up your important documents or whatever. I don't really know what the difference is, honestly. I would I don't know what the difference is. So I would just most of the stuff I get from the USPS is junk mail. I would love to stop getting junk mail. No, and then the other stuff, it could be emailed. It could be like I got stuff in the mail, like bills and just like letters or whatever that I could easily get an email. And honestly, I don't know why they don't just email me. It's a different story, I guess. But yeah, I think people were just rely on the USPS as if, okay, well, it's there. This is the way we've always done it. So let's just keep doing it that way. Well, I think if that mindset goes away, I think if the USPS were to be gone 5 years from now, we wouldn't even remember we had it.
Okay. To address your question, what's the difference? Because the mail in the U.S. Postal Service is federally protected. It's not when it's a private industry. There's just no way to do that. You don't get the same safeguards. So that's one of the things that safeguards it. Your other question that you said about it is, well, why don't we do everything by email? Not everyone has access to the internet. Not everyone has consistent access to the internet. So I need, if we were to go with the email route, internet goes down, services can be, if you're not paying for it. So now it's dependent on me making a payment to a service. And if it goes down, I've lost my essential documentation. No, as well as now if someone hacks my email account, they can get access to it. Now you could say, well, they could break into your mailbox. Again, federal crime, but it's also a lot more difficult and it's easier to catch someone. You have to do it's physical action, more likely to get caught. electronically, not as easy to get caught, and it's easier to do. Now, that doesn't mean that post office is perfect. And again, I think, Charles, you made a good point. There is that separation. Maybe we have essential documents that only go through a slimmed down post office. And to your point, Joe, everything else can be sent through email. And maybe we have to change a law about how we do emails, that there has to be a 911. It is essential and universal across the country. Even with a phone that is turned off, you can still call 911. Maybe we say the same thing about mail.
Let me make one more point. This is kind of not really off topic, but just kind of just an example. I used to be a delivery driver. I used to do it for several companies actually, but one of them would be picking up pharmacy stuff, like pharmaceuticals for people. Mm-hmm. Now this is if they don't have this, they die. Like their medication, they have to have it. And I'm here working for a private company as a contractor, picking it up from the pharmacy to deliver to them. And I'm just a regular guy. I'm not with the government, nothing. I'm just, I could do whatever I want. I could open up it if I want to, not deliver it, whatever. But I'm trusted as a contractor, work for myself, to go deliver that potentially life-saving medicine for people. And I guess that's where my mindset is. I don't know why the government has to handle something that's paperwork is more important. I mean, when the government, it's not the government, but when I guess when you get served, if you will, I think those people are contractors. I don't think they work for the government directly.
They're bonded.
They're regular people.
They're bonded.
Yeah, I was thinking
they're not regular people. They're bonded.
Well, I've worked bonded jobs as well. I worked bonded at a bank in a gaming place, and it's bonded, it's insured. That's the same thing with anyone else. It's with USPS or with FedEx, Amazon, whatever. They're all bonded also. There's insurance for all that.
The bonding isn't for warrants. It's not that they're bonded for the insurance. The bonding is, although there is that component, true, but that is a part of their certification to be allowed to do the job. Bounty hunters, legal bounty hunters, marshals, that's part of their legal certification for doing what they do, as opposed to a civilian. They're not civilians. They have different criteria. They're kind of a quasi law enforcement, quasi civilian. And I haven't recently looked at the law on that, so I can't really go further, but because I don't remember all of the stipulations, but they're not normal citizens. They do have a slight difference. I understand your point. It's something that it's worth delving into to have the conversation. I think there are elements of it that, Charles, I think you're probably closest saying, is there a compromise? Is there exclusion? I think there is. Because government is essential for essential things. So, and I know a lot of libertarians love to say, well, we'll just get rid of the government. We can't.
I don't think the government's so essential either.
Very essential. We're not getting rid of the post office.
Yeah, I know, Mike. It's something that should be discussed, Mike. You're right about that, and unfortunately, it's not. I mean, I don't hear our. I mean, that's you talk about the third rail of politics, getting rid of an entire department like that. Politicians would get so much help from that. They'd be so afraid to touch that one.
Yeah, you're right. Yeah, it's one of the last things that'll ever disappear from the government.
Well, they are doing it with the Department of Education right now. But here's something that you guys may not know that just happened. It just fell into law 2026. And it's actually going to bolster your idea of getting rid of the post office. You are aware that postmarks don't count anymore? Are you guys aware of that? Okay.
What does that mean?
Okay.
Yeah, what do you mean by that?
So you know that throughout all of my lifetime, Charles, your lifetime, and now yours, Joe, we've always had, when you put in something into the mail, you get postmarked the day that you drop it.
Right.
Okay. And so this way, legally, you have a legal guarantee. It was received on this date and started the process.
Right.
no matter whether it gets lost or whatever, you have that proof. That's no longer true. The post office on its own, without authorization from any part of the government, they made the regulation on their own by themselves. They now are going to process your letter, and they're going to postmark it when they process it. That could be a week later. That could be a month later. It could be the day that you put it in. Whenever they start the process, that's when they postmark it, and then it'll go out with that, which has a massive impact. And a lot of people don't know this, which is why I brought it up, because people are they're going to be amazed and in trouble when they try and get to April 15th and go, well,
I knew you were doing that.
It ain't going to get, it's not going to get stamped as the 15th.
Oh, they'll be okay. They'll be okay. The government's going to be like, no, we're going to have a grace period, et cetera, et cetera. It'll be fine. That's what they always do. They wait to the last minute or after the last minute. Then the government says, oh, everyone's complaining. We'll just delay it 3 more years or whatever. And
well, they can't. Okay. This isn't something that the government did. The post office made that decision themselves, and they're already doing it. So if you have a legal document that's going out and you need it, now they're forcing people to actually go to a FedEx or a UPS.
So they're certified mail through the back.
Yeah, or you're using the certified mail with the post office, which is, I think, unfair.
No, I deal with that with I live in an HOA. I know I'm a terrible libertarian. Anyway, I live in an HOA, and with the former company that used to manage our the property manager, you used to be able to just go into the office and pay your HOA payment, whatever. Mm-hmm. The new one we have says you can't do that. You have to mail it to the main headquarters PO box, and it doesn't matter. And this is to your point here. It doesn't matter when you send it. It matters when they get it and when they decide to stamp it. And actually got a late payment one time because they received it on the same day that it lapsed. It went into past due. And the same day that they received it, they sent me the letter saying it's past due. Same day, at the same stamp. I had to appeal that, but it was crazy to me because I could literally just walk there in 5 minutes to my HOA office and say, here's the check, we're done.
Yeah.
Save a stamp, save an envelope, everything works out better. But they don't do that. And that's not very, in my opinion, I like to say, not very neighborly. And
did they waive the fee?
Really stabs them a little bit for the HOA neighborhood association. So
did they waive the fee? Did you talk to them and did they waive the fee?
I raised hell. I'll be honest. I raised hell. I made it they charged me $20, right? It wasn't the big deal. But I was angry. It's the principle of it, It's the principle. Yeah, it's the principle of it. So they ended up, this is what they did. They ended up changing the term of that fee. So they waived the late fee, but they charged me for a letter fee or something, like sending the letter. So they charged me the same amount, but just for a different reason. And that's magically okay. Because I can appeal the late, but I can't appeal the charge for the sending the letter. So that's what they did.
I thought they were going to. I thought you were going to say that they sent you a refund check in the mail after you left talking to them. All right, we'll mail it to you.
No, they credited my account for the next time, but they still charged me the upfront for that. So it was
one thing that could happen.
But it wasted everyone's time, is what I'm saying. It wasted everyone's time. It cost us more money because they had to send a letter. It cost me more money. Anyway, it was a whole mess. It was stupid.
One thing I could say, as far as people and April 15th and now it's going to look like they're late. The IRS, even if the post office is we're not changing what we're doing, the IRS can grant time, right? Because the IRS can just say we'll take them stamped. I'm making this up to 2 weeks later because we know what the post office is doing now. So we'll give you this grace period. So I still think there's this way to have a grace period. Because the IRS can make their own rules and say, well, we'll take postmarks up to 3 weeks later. You know what I mean? So that people are.
The problem is they haven't, and they know the issue exists. And you would think for the public's, just for the public trust, and just so that there's simplicity to this, they come out tomorrow and say, "Don't worry, we're going to give
Right.
post office is going to screw you. We'll give you an extra 2 weeks as long as you make sure, as long as the postmark is within the 2 weeks, because the post office is going to be overwhelmed. We know that.
Mm-hmm.
Just tell people that now. Take away some of the anxiety, lower the pressure on this."
People aren't being loud enough, because I just found out about this. I didn't even know. So I think people don't know. And I think people will start raising hell probably around April 15th. And then you'll see the government come in like later, like 10 days later, April 25th. And then Trump will come out like, no. We're going to give everyone relief of a window of 30 days. Everything's going to be fine. Whatever. And that's going to be it. That's going to be the end of it. So we're going to raise hell for no reason. And everyone's going to be excused anyway.
Well, you know how people can know if they would like, comment, share, and subscribe to this channel? Then they would know, because they would be listening. So share this, everybody. Tweet it, send it out on Facebook, tell your friends. And I am going to clip this section, and I'll make it a short, and that way people will know. So one of the things that we talked about is, the guts to actually do something like this, the will to do it from Congress isn't really there. I wonder we had the quote there from the deputy chief of the executive of PostNord in Denmark, saying that it was the significant decline of letters, but you still have to have the will of the people, I would imagine, the will of the political apparatus to get that done. So I wonder how they came to that. It's going to be interesting, because they also have a company that's going to be sending letters, and I'm going to pronounce it DAO, D-A-O. So even though, yes, they're small, right? Because I agree, Michael, it's a small, but it's a test. It's a test to see how it goes. Like, what happens with DAO? Is there corruption? Is there what you fear about people just opening other folks' mail now because it's not being run by the post office? Are they not doing as well as I thought a private company would? It'll be an interesting test run to see what happens. I wonder how many other governments are looking at it going, let's see what happens over there. And if it works, we'll try it too. Or we can just learn lessons before we roll out ours that we've been thinking about. So we'll see what happens there.
It's Europe. They don't learn lessons. They just screw things up and live with it.
They're gonna ask us to come in. They go, "Can you guys bring your postal service over here?"
But hey, I'll say this about the whole April 15th tax thing, the letters being stamped on time, whatever.
Don't tell me.
We just abolished the IRS.
I know.
Get rid of it.
I was thinking the same thing.
We don't have to worry about it anymore.
He's going
All
to
the problems are solved.
You're gonna get Michael a heart attack. I knew it. It's gonna be a problem.
I'm surprised it took you that long to say it. It's like,
I thought about it later. Then I forgot.
That's hilarious. I love it. That's great, guys. So moving on from that, we met on January 5th last week. I wake up the next morning, and all over the news there's this stuff about January 6th, and I didn't know the date. And I'm like, what are they talking about January 6th? But then I put it together. But I gotta ask you guys, does this raise to the level of like 9/11? Are we talking about something here that should be remembered as an anniversary thing, a tragedy in America? Or is it really just becoming a political football? Because, Trump put up the website there that was basically exonerating folks. I didn't look at it, but what I heard in the news is that it's exonerating folks. Other people say, it was a full out assault. So, is this just become a political football, and every January 6th we're going to have to hear about this? And it shouldn't even be talked about that much in the mainstream media. What do you guys think? Joe, go first on this one.
It may have just been me, but I think for the first time on January 6th, I didn't even think about it until like later on in the day. Someone mentioned it. Oh, hey, it's January 6th, and I was like, oh, okay. So that's where I was at, and I don't think anyone else. I think other people were thinking the same thing. Like, it just wasn't a thing anymore. So the fact that we, quote unquote, forgot of January 6th, what like not even 5 years later or something, and obviously 9/11, and we still remember all the time. I can't even put them in comparison. Obviously, 3,000 people lost their lives in 9/11. Thousands more lost since then for repercussions due to 9/11. But no, January 6th, I believe one person died in the actual event, or no one, I guess. But like,
No, 5.
5? Okay.
5. All of them
Okay.
civilians, no police.
Yeah, but well, I don't want to belittle them, but like all that aside, it really, to me, was like it doesn't rise to the level of 9/11 at all. I think it was a mob rule thing. I don't think it was planned. I think it was like, I'm not a conspiracy theorist. Honestly, I just think it was people who were there. They were very passionate. I will be.
Right.
I know Mike's going to disagree with me on this, but I do think the president making a couple tweets around that time may have been, just blew a little bit onto the flames of may have ignited something, and it just, one thing led to another. It snowballed, mob rule, and they decided to do things like, someone said, "Hey, let's charge the building or something," and then everyone decided, "Oh, okay, let's do that thing, that stupid thing," and it just snowballed out of control from there. And the police, or whatever the guards were at the Capitol building, were not prepared for it. And they saw, I think this is all my interpretation of it, but from the videos I saw, the police were like, well, these people aren't really doing anything that bad. Like, we can't really control them because we're outnumbered. And all they're doing is really taking a tour. they're maybe moving some things around. Like, they are picking up some things, breaking some things a little bit too. But as long as they were watching them, I think they stayed away from being very violent. And yeah, for the most part, I think it was. I don't think it was planned. I'll put it that way. I don't think it was planned. I think it was just spur of the moment. And in the grand scheme of things, I think it's made into a much bigger deal than it actually was.
Okay, yeah, Mike, start there. Do you think it's become too big of a deal? Do you think it's something we should be remembering like this, like we do 9/11? Does it rise to that level?
It's definitely nowhere near 9/11, except in the minds of the left and the media, because they use it as a cudgel to try and excuse their own actions. And that's why we always hear about it. It's not the right talking about it. It's not independents talking about it. The average person isn't talking about it. Politicians on the left and the news media talk about it to excuse their own bad behavior. Oh, see, but you did January 6th. There's a riot. They're rioting in, I don't know, whatever city across America. It's in Kansas City. They're rioting. Well, but there was January 6th. You have that kind of interplay. Antifa's doing its insanity, its domestic terrorism, and they go, well, there's January 6th. And I understand Joe is probably like most people in America. I'm a political junkie. I'm been doing this 20 years. I'm a member of the press. So I have a very different memory. And no, the president had nothing to do with it. But we did know that people like Ray Epps, who was on video and did, in fact, eventually get brought in and got a slap on the wrist. He was out there inciting people the night before and the day of, trying to get them to commit acts of violence. We do know that there were members, known, recorded, documented members of Antifa that were on video recorded as being violent and causing destruction of property. But you're right, Joe. The overwhelming majority of people, based on the 4,000 hours, not the 6 hours of video, and realistically 15 minutes of video that were shown to the American public, but the 4,000 hours of video out of the total 40,000 hours of video, Washington, D.C. is one of the most heavily cameraed, videoed, surveilled properties on the face of the earth. They have 40,000 hours of video of what happened that day. We've seen what was released to the public is 4,000 hours. And you're right. Most overwhelmingly, we're talking about 85% of all of the people took a tour. That's it. And that's why on the eastern side of Congress, the police opened the doors and let people in. They ushered people in. On the western side, we had some of the activists and some people who got carried away because of the activists. And every one of those who committed a violent act, yes, they should be and were tried, and they served their time. Everyone else should be left alone. But here's the thing. That's done. We went through that moment in history. It wasn't a coup. There was 300,000 people there. If they wanted to take over the government, they would have. It would have been done. There's no way. Most countries, 3,000 people attempt to try and take over the government, and the government topples. They weren't trying to take over the government. They were there to say they were pissed off. And they were pissed off, and they had a right to be. And that's what we saw. It should be recorded in history accurately for what it actually was. And that's it. It's a learning lesson. Don't piss off the American people. Make our elections as clear as possible, as fair as possible. And if there is a dispute, clarify and answer the dispute. Don't wave past it and rush past it because it was good for your political agenda, whichever side that may be. Deal with the issue, and then we move forward. That's the lesson of January 6th. Also, don't politically beat up your opponents just because you don't like them. We had people who were, until they had the general pardon from Donald Trump, we had people that the FBI had arrested and had spent over 18 months in jail without getting a trial.
Yeah, that's horrible.
That's insane. And that's separate of, and of course, the five civilians that were killed by Capitol Police, and everyone thinks of Ashley Babbitt, but there were 4 others as well. They should be remembered for the excess of violence that the Capitol Police did that day. And no one was killed. No police officer was killed because of that day. Anyone who tells you that is lying, because we have the facts. That is documented. Anyone who says police officers were killed, especially on that day, is just using propaganda because they're pushing a political agenda.
Yeah, I don't recall hearing anybody say that. You've heard people say that?
Oh, yeah, all the time. The left loves to say that. Oh, no, they killed police officers. We have CNN, MSNBC, for a while, ABC, CBS, and NBC were pushing the lie that somewhere between 1 to 7 officers were killed on that day. Depending on which day you're looking at and which one you're looking at, they reported it differently. 0 officers died that day. Then they changed the story to say, oh, no, but they died because of that day. No, an officer went home and he had a stroke. He was not in great health beforehand. 2 other officers committed suicide. Well, that has nothing to do with that day. We have no idea. They didn't leave notes. So we don't know why they committed suicide. They're saying it. That's politically advantageous. It's the left pushing their agenda and they're justifying it by any means necessary to try and say they were the good guys and everyone else was the bad guy. That's not fair. That's not accurate. And it's not helpful. I'm not saying that everyone was an innocent darling, but they didn't deserve to be demonized the way they were either. And that's where we should accurately have that recorded in history. And it's a moment in our history. And we've had other moments like this. It's not the first time. We've had other moments like this in our history. Let's record them accurately and move on. No one talks about what happened on May 20th when the same a bunch of Antifa fanatics burned down the church across the street from the White House. No one talks about that. That was far more violent and destructive than what happened on January 6th. But I guarantee you guys don't even know that happened, did you?
No, it does not sound familiar. You brought up a good one thing that goes on as far as mainstream media is concerned is guilt by association. Like if somebody was there, they'd make it sound like that person was somehow was attacking the Capitol, particularly like when somebody was running. I remember that in the last election cycle. I'm not going to say who, Don and I know some folks who were there. They're great. We love hanging out with them. They didn't attack the Capitol or even give a self-guided tour. So the guilt by association thing is really kind of is really wrong. So the left is where I actually saw this. Like Joe, I had mentioned at the top of this part of the discussion, I didn't even know it was January 6th until I put on Morning Joe and was watching some of that to see what they're talking about. And they were talking about it. And it's like, so yeah, the left, Michael, like you say, they rose us up to the level of 9/11. That's where that all hit me. I was watching it. I'm going, this is like, what do you think? This reminds me of the coverage you get on 9/11, which of course was an absolute disaster and something that the country can unify around because the country was attacked. This is one of those things where people have different views. Like we talked about the other topic where, we talked about what happened in Minneapolis, where, unfortunately it becomes political. And that's how this is too, And so I think
it's worse, Charles. Think about it. It's worse. You've got AOC, a sitting member of Congress. She keeps telling people that her life was in danger and that she was going to get killed. She wasn't there. Mm-hmm. We have it documented by the Congress. We have timestamps and video. She wasn't there. And she's still pushing this lie to get more money, more donations, and get reelected, saying that her life was in danger and she was going to get killed. She wasn't there. It is an absolute verifiable fact.
All right, let me catch up on some comments here. We got a user been banned saying, oh, no, that's not the one I want. He wants to abolish the ATF. That's where I was going to start. Sorry about that.
Yes, let's do that.
He wants to abolish the ATF. Back when we were talking about, we were talking about the Danish post office and what they're doing and how we should do that here. So what's the deal with that? Why would you want, both of you guys are agreeing, what's the advantage of abolishing the ATF?
It's unconstitutional. The alcohol, tobacco, firearms. Mm-hmm. It should be a convenience store, not an agency by the government.
Okay. Essentially, Mike, before you comment, Mike, I just got to bring this up. Some guy named No Soundbites Allowed chimed in, and he said to user be banned. I agree, getting rid of the ATF. Just wanted to bring that guy's comment up. Now you can speak, Mike.
Yeah, and I do essentially agree. They are a non-essential, non-congressional authorized essential part of the government. It's something that they made up after the fact, mostly because of 1934, mostly because of prohibition. And that's where they're really essentially from. The biggest problem with the ATF is they make up their own legislation. When they make a rule, they make it as if it's a law. It's their internal rule. So, pistol braces, as an example. They consider that, well, you have a pistol brace. Well, that means it's a machine gun. You've just changed a handgun into a machine gun, which is ridiculous. It's they're creating their own physics. It's just not true. But yet they said, well, that's our regulation. Therefore, it's a fact now. That's unconstitutional. And the only purpose of that was to punish anyone who had a pistol brace, which there's medical reasons for it, as well as personal reasons for why you may want to own that. And by the way, the Second Amendment says, shall not be infringed. That's infringing. So I have a massive problem with this unregulated organization, like many of them, like the EPA. There are several other departments of the government that are making up the post office. We were just talking about. They changed the postmark. They're making up their own rules as if it is law that negatively impacts the American people. I have a problem with that. Get rid of them. We don't need them. Definitely not in the form that they're in right now, making their own rules and laws.
You guys convinced me. User says, speaking about Antifa, we were speaking about that a few minutes ago. One Pantifa mirrored even footage to CNN.
Yes, it's true fact.
Unbelievable.
And $50,000. He sold it for $50,000. Then he got arrested by the FBI, and he had to refund the money.
Oh no! And then a little humor in here. An unarmed group in America trying to overthrow the government. That is very silly. And he follows that up with laughable. User has more on the ATF. The ATF also really doesn't like people's dogs, if you know what I mean. I don't know. Does anybody know what that's referring to?
I do know what that means.
I do.
Unfortunately.
ATF is known for shooting people's dogs while they try and take away people's rights to own a firearm.
Holy smokes. That's what you heard too, Joe?
Yeah, and it's like a common thing.
Mm-hmm. Very common.
Because the dog is seen as like a threat. They're going to protect their owner, so they take out the dog.
Yeah.
Oh, wow.
It's disgusting.
All right.
Completely unnecessary and illegal.
Oh, yeah. Lock switch just empties the gun caster, effectively disarming the shooter.
Yep. And yet again, another thing that the ATF unilaterally decided is illegal. They didn't go to Congress. They didn't ask the public. They didn't even go to the president. They just said, they woke up one morning and said, you know what? We just don't like the Glock switch. You know what? It's illegal. Dexter Taylor, go in jail. It's just
boy. I gotta get him and or his lawyer on the show.
Yeah.
I tried to write a blog about it, but the lawyer didn't respond. But maybe now that I have a show, he'll come on. Yeah. That was well, you know, the government does that a lot, Michael and Joe, as you guys know. Agencies make rules, and all of a sudden, somehow they become a law. At least we act that way, which is really bizarre.
I'm still with you.
Alrighty. It's been fantastic as always. I love the conversation. I love the laughs as well, and the fact that we can talk in considerate tones and not be at each other's throats. And I don't know if anybody noticed this before, but when I say the free and open exchange of ideas and of opinions, and the belief is as citizens of the world, you have a right to hear and to be heard. I kind of copied that from a great broadcaster by the name of Bob Grant. And if you are familiar with WABC radio back in the day when it went from music to talk, he was one of the biggest talkers in New York, except he said citizens of America, but I like to think that I'm broadcasting to the world. In fact, I know there are people around the world who read me, so I'm sure they're watching. I'm sure, cross my fingers, sure they're watching. So yeah, citizens of the world get to hear a free and open exchange of ideas and of opinions, and you can always chime in like User and like Adirondack and all the other folks that chimed in last night. We had a ton of great conversations on that show as well. So I appreciate all of that, folks. And we are back next week, hopefully with one more person. I said that a few times on the show, but it is a great conversation as always. And I don't know where in the world you are, folks, or what time it is in your neck of the woods, but no matter the time, I hope you had a good time. This time, until next time, we will see you later.